How will they react when they lose 2 games in a row and Bayern take 6 points? Then we're down to 4 points.
Hi and welcome to the German Fußball podcast. I'm your host, Markus Fjortoft, and from the interview zone and where it happened at Anfield yesterday with the likes of a Klopp and a Guardiola now to the basement, the back alleys of the Bundesliga faithfuls. The days keep getting better for you, Dad. Welcome, of course, as always, to the episode. But yeah, you were obviously there in the kind of penultimate clash between 2 managerial greats in what was a very good game as well. But yeah, you interviewed both the coaches, and it seemed like an overall a pretty good day.
200 nations had the game live. 23 different broadcasters were there to do that live. And as you said, I was lucky or good enough, credibility enough, whatever. But sometimes it's also a bit luck because you've been told who you get. But I think it will help that you're around. That's it. But I appreciate that. And I always thankful when I have the possibility because, as you were saying, this was Jurgen Klopp's and Pep Guardiola's last meeting in England. Well, we'll say for 90%. Maybe there'll be some comebacks in the future. They're just still young men. Yeah. But it was. I came over to Liverpool on Saturday, so I stayed there, got the feeling, got the English papers. I mean, I love when I go to England to do the English papers, not to do it on net. But it was all about this big meetings between with Klopp and Guardiola. And what I thought of most, Marcus, and I talked to both managers about that, is that in the history of football, you will have a Wenger against Ferguson, things like that. You will always have 2 great managers coming up to each other. Someone said in the media, they're not the best of friends, but they are the best of enemies. But I still, well, friends, how do you define that? But still, they have a fantastic respect for each other. When Liverpool won the Champions League, they beat Tottenham, I think it was 2019. Pep Guardiola was the first one calling Klopp, congratulating him. And I think that is also a matter of when these hotheads, as every big managers are, but when you calm down a bit, you do the analysis of what you've achieved in your career, you will always think that Klopp, when he winning the league, he beat a fantastic Pep team. When Pep losing a title or 2 against Liverpool, he will always think, yeah, I lost it against the Klopp. But still, when he beats him, he will think, wow, respectfully, I did that against a fantastic team. And mind you, just to finish off this, Liverpool have only got 1 Premier League title in the years that Klopp has been there. But still, 2 times, they had like a fantastic amount of points. They're losing to a Manchester City team. So I love the respect between them. And wow, Marcus, the game. I mean, you can't imagine what was going on in that game. The intensity, the energy. It was electric, and especially in the second half. And I did a bucket list. I went before the game. I went behind to the Cup, one of the most famous stands up there with yellow wall, the Cup. These are the stands we know. And they were singing You'll Never Walk Alone. And I was standing there as they were singing that song. I've thought about it for some games. And the security were very kind to me. I know them after many years, so I could stand there just for the song. And then I went up again. But 1-1 at the end, Marcus. And how Liverpool played in the second half, amazing. But then again, it just shows you, even when Liverpool were dominating, the 2 big chances were Foden, and then, of course, Doku hitting the inside of the post. And I think Foden should have played Erling when he had the chance there. He got it on that foot. But then again, 1-1, I think that makes it all so open. And your Arsenal and the Germans know that I love the expression, the lachen, the dritte. And I'm not saying they are third in the table, but I'm just saying that everybody thinks it's going to be between Manchester City and Liverpool, as they've done between them for the years. But Arsenal behind there, getting that win. Kai Havertz, that I've been supported since he came there. A very proud weekend for me, Marcus. And when then Endo ending up having a potential man of the match performance against Manchester City, it was a good week. But of course, I was following the German teams as well as they occurred.
Yeah, you're slowly kind of moving yourself towards the German link here with the likes of, obviously, with the Klopp, Guardiola, but now with Havertz and Endo, and I'm sure a Bayern Munich team that seemed almost very much rejuvenated, kind of all fit and proper again after Tuchel's kind of sacking, you might call it.
No, we can't call it sacking. No, they call cooperation. They agreed.
Cooperation. Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah, the semantics of it. That's why I have to remind myself. But let's talk about Bayern, Dad. I mean, 8-1 against Mainz, albeit Mainz have had a very poor season, but 8-1 now. A controlled display against Lazio. I'd say it was better. It wasn't super dominant, but I'd say it was a controlled display. 3-0 win. You think, okay, this is looking good. You could see the relief sort of in Tuchel's face. Then you come down Mainz now, 8-1, and you can say whatever you like. Mainz had a bad season, but 8-1, Dad, the facts remain. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good in FC Hollywood now.
It's all good, and I think they're looking for a new coach. Maybe they should try this Tuchel guy who has a bit of success now with a German team. What I liked against Lazio is that we saw a team out there who wanted desperately to go to the next round, knowing that will be embarrassing. No disrespect to Lazio, but they are, I think, 9th or 10th in Serie A. So they had to do that. But the display against Mainz impressed me, Marcus, because that was Bayern of the old. Mm-hmm. Mind you, Mainz, yes, they've had a bad season, but still, with Bo Henriksen, there've been progress. They did a good away game at Leverkusen, who are now the best teams in Germany. So they put pressure on them. But I watched this game. I didn't have to see the highlights this time. I could see it live as it was happening on my phone. But I mean, Kane 3 goals. But maybe the one that we will remember is his assist. I think it was to Musiala when he played that ball through behind the foot. That was kind of Beckham kind of assist back in the days when he was fantastic doing that. But Marcus, another guy who bit in from the cold, Goretzka. What a game he had.
2 goals,
Great
2
passes,
assists.
2 goals, 2 assists, a display on a top level. We'll talk more about Nagelsmann's squad for the March games. Maybe he will end up being not nominating for that after a man of the match game, but he was fantastic. Kimmich seemed to be, I'm not saying happy, but seemed to be very comfortable playing on the right back, and he says the right thing in the media as well. So it seems that Bayern players now understand there's no way we can kind of hide behind the Tuchel. He will leave anyway, and now it's up to us to kind of, and of course, Marcus, players on this level, an enormous self-confidence normally, an enormous proudness, and of course, afraid, worrying that they are embarrassed because you are 10 points behind Bayern Leverkusen. And that is embarrassing for every Bayern team. And they will go into the history if that will be the thing for the rest of the season.
It's interesting in terms of you can't have someone to hide behind anymore, and that also coincides with, and we'll look to discuss that at the end of the week when Nagelsmann takes out his squad. But of course, a better Bayern equals a better Germany, and if you have the likes of a Goretzka,
yes, Marcus, yes,
yeah,
Marcus,
but I would say I would argue that. I would argue that.
What you're saying. So there were no Bayern players at the last World Cups. They were home, or
no.
Because
I'm saying
time.
when Bayern have been poorer, I would say Bayern's trend has gone down exponentially.
Fair,
and Germany's exponentially, of course. But I'm saying it helps when we have a good Bayern for the Germany team. And so my point being, if you have a Goretzka there, if you bring in Kroos, basically, we can discuss this more, but you bring out Kroos, it's because you have players that aren't performing. Goretzka hasn't performed. Kimmich hasn't performed. Sané's top level is fantastic. But at the same time, second half of the season, inconsistent. So I think seeing this happen, I think, just bodes well for Germany. And of course, there are different variables, but nonetheless, I think it helps.
Is fair. that is fair. When the Bayern players are doing well, that is also good for Germany, of course, and also not to underestimate Thomas Müller. He had one of those games again. He was everywhere. He was coaching. He was pointing. He was doing all the kind of stuff. That is good for him as well. I think in general, but I'll suspect that we'll maybe do a special episode on the nomination of the when Nagelsmann picks his squad, because I think there will be some surprises. But there are at the moment some positive things coming out of the German camp. I've been very pessimistic for them. Mind you, that was a time when Norway never came to any tournament. I always followed Germany and England. They had always, at least Germany had, or West Germany, as they were called at that time, had always good teams. But I would start worrying now. But now you see an Undav or Bayer at Hoffenheim.
Bayer at Hoffenheim. But you have a lot of informed players, right?
And you have Toni Kroos back. That will kind of, you have the composer, the orchestra leader. He'll be back. So a lot of good things. And talking about, well, we are stranding more or less with Bayern, Markus. But next day then, Leverkusen against Wolfsburg. 7 points. Yes, we know that. But I think they were so solid again. I mean, that must be the most dominant 2-0 game of all history.
Yeah, it was. I think they had around 750, I think, passes in Wolfsburg's half, which was just like, I think Wolfsburg had 200 or something, but they didn't have anything to really counter with. Obviously, Moritz Jens got sending off pretty early, again in Leverkusen's favor, but at the same time, no doubt. And then Wirtz in the 86th minute sort of settled the score at 2-0. Grimaldo, his assist, incredible. There were the kind of the first touch, the flick, and the cross to Tella. Grimaldo's 10th assist of the season, Tella's 5th goal of the season. And Leverkusen, you give us some insight into this, but you go to Azerbaijan on Thursday, you go play Wolfsburg at home on the Sunday, then you're going to play Karabakh in the return this Thursday, and then you're going to Freiburg. So as much as we fancy Leverkusen as favorites in each of these games, and they were very close to ending their unbeaten streak against Karabakh, they still have to get results, and they are still very much doing so and not putting the foot off the pedal, which is very impressive considering how little experience they actually have within the context of fighting for not only one title, but 2 or 3.
Yeah, and I think that the paradox here is that Alonso's Leverkusen and Klopp's Liverpool are a bit like now. Whatever happened, they somehow managed to take that disadvantage in quote into an advantage, like Klopp has done with the young teams. Then they were unified, winning the League Cup with young or inexperienced players, and it seems that Leverkusen is doing the same. I was so close to write then Leverkusen losing. They got a 90 plus 2. They got an equalizer to 2-2. And then I couldn't see the whole game here. I've seen the highlights, bigger highlights of it. But Florian Wirtz as well. Every time he gets the ball, it looks like when you're having in summer, when you play 3 against 3 or 2 against 2 on the beach, you just out there, enjoy yourself. We can see it's quite easy for us to sit as a former footballers. We can at least have a understanding or a belief or some alternatives for what it will do. And so we can see with a camera high up, we can see where the space is. But this young lad, he is in there with the ball, people shouting, people try to track him down, and he always finds some space. And then you have Xhaka, and then you have Ta, and then you have Radetzky. And the funny thing as well, Bayer Arena has turned into one of the, like, we'll never say that is the atmosphere at Bayern Munich is sensational. Even Markus, I know that you were at Arsenal, Emirates as well. Emirates seemed to be like a ground where they were okay. They were more applauding, I would say. But I just listened to the crowd there, Markus, and you were there, and you sent me some videos, and wow, what an atmosphere it was there as well. And that is the point, because when I was at Anfield yesterday, I mean, you should never underestimate that 12, you can't say man, Lara, 12th person being the fans. So that has turned into, I mean, of course they play better, of course the atmosphere is better, but it's vice versa. The atmosphere is better, then they will play better as well. But as you were saying, now they're going to Freiburg. Everybody would say that is a tricky game, but this is a team that doesn't seem to lose. So
they don't seem phased at all. Even though I don't believe Radetzky's comments where he said, "Oh, the half of the team, we didn't even know the Bayern result." Bear in mind, the Bayern game was the day before. I don't buy that, but I still very much think that they are very much on their course. I think we've discussed this. Alonso will preach next game, and fair play to them. But if we can have a little fun with it, let's say we have a high-flying Bayern now. Darmstadt away next game, then they have Dortmund at home, but then they have Heidenheim away, they have Köln at home, Union Berlin away. It's one of those
15 points.
Yeah.
15
points. One of those in which I know you're 10 points, but even if you have 10 and you cut it down a bit, they'll be interesting because a Leverkusen team, we're almost like they've become a victim of their success, in which we haven't seen them have a bump. And you're kind of like waiting for the inevitable something to happen. But at the same time, they're so good. But it will be interesting to see how they react, because I think Bayern, like you say, I think they will take 100% of those points. And that will be interesting to see.
As they're flying now, it's been under-communicated. At 8-1, took them back to the goal difference as well. So it normally was 11 points. Now they're back on that. But I think that what we do, lovers of Bundesliga, we would like to see another winner than Bayern Munich. That has nothing to do with lack of respect for Bayern Munich. It's just that we just want that. And stop with this Farmers League. We got another team, nearly last season with Dortmund. But it's quite interesting. It's 9 games to go. It's 27 points. I do my maths again. That means with 19 points so you can just start counting how, and this is a team who never lost. So I think as long as there is a theory that Bayern could do it, and point one, Bayern on fire, they can win 5 games now. They can win 9 games now. That means that Leverkusen got to win 6 and play 1 draw. I mean, that is simple math if the goal difference is in their advantage. And also the thing that, as you were saying, how will they react when they lose 2 games in a row and Bayern takes 6 points? Then we don't do 4 points. So it's quite interesting to see. And then the pressure with Radetzky saying that they don't know about the result. I swear to God in heaven, he knows exactly the game.
Course.
I know the fixture list from here and out. And that's fair because they're so professional. They got a manager who has been there, seen it, done it. I think they are quite calm. Leverkusen is not the biggest place. It's not a media landscape that we looked into everything. So there's a lot of things going on. And Bayern has changed a bit also because this year, I think they're not so going out there having a go at Leverkusen. But if they, let's say next round now, Leverkusen lose in Freiburg, and then they're down to 7 points, Bayern winning at Darmstadt. Then would people will start, and then they have this difficult game, and so on and so on. So this is not gone, but I say it again, if Leverkusen can't get this win going, or win the title this season, then that is historically. I mean, then we never. That takes us back to Manchester United trailing Kevin Keegan's Newcastle. This is the moment when Kevin Keegan lost it and said, I would love it. I would love it because Sir Alex Ferguson got in under his skin. Tuchel won't do that. And Alonso knows everything about Bayern, being an old Bayern player himself. So they're just waiting for it. But still, excitement in there, Marcus.
Very much so. And it's up for us to maintain it. But I still very much think there is. Just a quick one while we conclude Bayern, but also Harry Kane now, his 4th hat-trick, Bundesliga hat-trick of the season. He's reached the 30-goal mark in the Bundesliga. He's got 11 goals to go in 9 games to equal Lewandowski's record. Now, he averages 1.2 goals a game, meaning that he's on course to score another 10 goals. 1 goal short of Lewandowski. So he needs another hat-trick or 2 to beat that, but it looks good. He's reached 35 goals in all competitions in a season for the 3rd time in his career.
I say he will make it, Marcus. Good stats. I say he will make it. He will make 11 goals. 11 goals in 9 games. He will make that because when Bayern is on fire, he will score goals. I mean, Darmstadt, would you have taken a bet that they just score at least 2 in that game? No. Then they play at home, Dortmund. Okay, great game for him, big game. You expect him also to score. So I think Lewandowski, because Lewandowski, I mean, one of his greatest achievements to beat Gerd Müller record. I mean, maybe the best goal getter of all time. So let's see. But let's go on, Marcus. Stuttgart is up there as that must be the secure Champions League place.
Yeah, I mean, pretty close to it. I mean, Hoeneß signed an extension. There we have 4 players there in the Germany contention. I mean, it's Stuttgart that's high flying that haven't been in the Champions League for over a decade. Won relatively comfortably. In terms of Hoeneß, his extension, does that signal his intent to stay, or is it more so for Leverkusen to secure some kind of compensation if there were bigger actors to come into play, i.e. Bayern Munich?
What is Rory Stewart always saying? The rest is politics. When he want to update us on the fact, he got a great saying. Just to give you the background on this one, he says something like that. Sebastian Hoeneß is the son of Dieter Hoeneß. Dieter Hoeneß played at Bayern and is an agent. He is his agent. His brother, Dieter Hoeneß's brother, that is Uli Hoeneß. That means that Uncle Uli will maybe think that Sebastian Hoeneß one day could be a Bayern manager. It's been unrealistic so far. Well, we know he was a talented guy, but as it stands now, they're ahead of Dortmund, they're ahead of Leipzig, seems to secure the Champions League place. So they now, if I were your dad, Marcus, and I were your agent, I would have said, let's use this moment to extend your contract. Great contract. Stuttgart would say, yes, let's do it. But I think that his dad would be a terrible agent if he didn't put in that if Bayern come knocking, he can go. I have no doubt in my mind that there is some kind of clause in his contract saying he can leave for Bayern. And that in Germany, that kind of clauses, there are more or less freedom of clauses at Bayern. So I think that he will use that. Having said that, Sebastian Hoeneß also know that he won't be candidate number 1. That is Xabi Alonso. But if you think of the candidates Bayern got, there's not like one significant. Well, I don't think they will take Mourinho, because I think Mourinho has hurt himself. As you know, I love Mourinho, but I think he's hurt himself. I think maybe he need another club, have more success there, and then he can take a top club again if he won't go back to England, of course. Zinedine Zidane does speak German, bad English as well.
Conte's been linked.
Yeah, Conte is more or less the same image brand as Mourinho at the moment. I don't think he will be up on the list. And the usual suspect like Flick and Nagelsmann, I don't think they will go back there. So maybe Sebastian Hoeneß will be a compromise candidate, but great result for them again. And with the ranking saying that Germany could end up with 5 places in the new Champions League, competing especially with the Premier League, as we know. This is a big battle between Tottenham and Aston Villa that we saw this week, and Tottenham was fantastic in that away game against Villa. But Sebastian Hoeneß absolutely maybe coach of the season in a great competition with Xabi Alonso.
Guirassy, 21 goals in 19 Bundesliga games. Remember, the top scorer in the Bundesliga
Amazing.
had 16, I believe. It was Nkunku and Füllkrug were tied. 16 goals last season. It was a historic low goal-scoring battle, so to speak. But Guirassy has 21 goals in 19 games. Dennis Undav was on the bench. That's kind of how they're
Imagine that.
Choice.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine that. You have Undav, who possibly will be nominated by Nagelsmann. He's on the bench. And that's the flexibility that Sebastian Hoeneß has and does. He kind of gives some. Sometimes he play with one striker, and he play with one of them, and then sometimes he play with 2. So it's a flexibility. It's the so-called modern manager.
Yeah, and very impressive considering, as the aforementioned Endo at Liverpool, they lost right before the season. Their captain Mavropanos at West Ham went there, the centre back. I mean, it's been very, very impressive. Another game that was very intriguing.
I said, Marcus, sorry, but I don't interrupt you, but I spoke to Endo about that in German.
You spoke German,
yeah, I spoke a bit German.
Yeah.
So I spoke to him about Stuttgart, and it was, they're playing very well, he said. And of course, it was a polite conversation in the press zone, but it was funny that we were standing there after a Liverpool-Manchester City game talking about Stuttgart progress. But I guess, Marcus, you wanted to go to Frankfurt?
We can go to Frankfurt, and then we can go to the other games. But Eintracht Frankfurt, they're pretty significant win, actually, because it was 6th against 7th. It was a game in which if Eintracht won there, which they did, they established a 7-point gap to Hoffenheim. So you would say that unless Eintracht really mess it up, they've established at the very least a European spot. I think it would be favorable to the Bundesliga to have Eintracht Frankfurt in Europe, and we say that as objectively as we can. But it was important there for Eintracht, which it was a very encouraging display. And I know Brooks, the American, got sent off there.
He scored, and he
scored and he
was sent off.
I know that played in, but still, a good display that from Eintracht Frankfurt, and Götze kind of sealed the victory there with the 3-1.
Yeah, I did. I watched this game. Massive game for Eintracht Frankfurt. This is a club that has been branding themselves as kind of middle of Europe. This is the finance metropole of Europe. This is the team that gives a finance city heart and soul, identity. They have a new profit camp that I've been to many times. I must say, for the listeners, I'm a bit I'm not very neutral here. I'm biased. I'm an ambassador.
It's all out. It's all for sake of transparency.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also running a project for them as a chairman for a Norway Forum, where we get companies from Norway and Germany together. But still, they brand themselves as a European kind of club, and not just kind of. The Profit Camp address is im Herzen von Europa. So it's in the heart of Europe. It's the address. If you're going to send a post to Eintracht Frankfurt, that is the thing. And then you have to also get into Europe. And now with 7 points ahead of Hoffenheim, wow, that was a great win for them. I'm talking about advantages. There have been some home games that haven't produced big time, have some boring draws. We have to be honest about that. But this was a great display. They were 1-0 down as well, turned it around, and it was so good to see Mario Götze getting onto the score sheet again. So big win for Eintracht Frankfurt with 9 games to go in the Bundesliga.
And on their 125th anniversary as well. And if I'm not mistaken,
yes, I'm going to the birthday party, Marcus. Next week I'm going to the birthday party.
Well, they had
it on I think it was Friday. Friday was the official day.
Because you played there when they had the 100th. Because I remember that, because when I had the jersey as a kid, it was that special logo. And I remember
99.
I remember as a kid saying, how is it a birthday for an entire year? And that's what I was remembering, thinking how they had the logo on for that entire time. But I remember
I think that is.
Yeah, I think the one that you have there is the special logo.
Let's see the logo there.
No, it's not that.
I'm not sure, but it's still, this was made as a symbol, as a thankfulness for the old shirts. And this is 99, and this is the year that I scored that 5-1 goal. So great shirt, great memories, a fantastic football club that I am very passionate about, as you know. Also tactically, Marcus, because I've had a lot of clubs in different countries, but in Germany I only got one. But that connection I got with them from the short period that I played with, it's a great praise to the great praise to me, but a great praise, I wanted to say, to my life. It added so much joy in my life, because I love to be around Frankfurt, and I love, because Eintracht is a club that got all these elements into them, with commercial, with the finance, with all the banks and all the middle of Europe, thinking big thing in terms of what football should mean. And so, and also a small fun fact: the consul of Norway in Frankfurt area is the CEO of Eintracht Frankfurt, Axel Hellman. Is it a coincidence? But it's good, isn't it?
Very good. Very good. It's important that we establish those closer relations.
Yeah. And you love it. First game you played, Marks, in your whole life. I remember the game. You scored.
Yeah,
I remember.
I did.
6-2. We won 6-2 or something
like that. It's the craziest coach I've ever had, and I've played in Scotland, and that says it all. if we move on, we just have
take
to...
a summary, Marcus.
Yeah, we take the summary, but we obviously got Dortmund and Leipzig in terms of the European spots, both winning. Leipzig against Darmstadt. By the way, we haven't discussed, and we can discuss kind of looking back at the season, but I saw the game RB Leipzig heading away to Real Madrid. Impressive performance. Very impressive performance in terms of what they came out with. They played with a vitality and a kind of on the front foot there, which I think took Real Madrid by surprise, and they were far from happy from that performance and very relieved that they went through, because they were lucky on a few occasions. Dortmund won against Bremen despite Sabitzer getting sent off there. They won 2-1. Sancho with his first goal involvement since his debut, so to speak, following his loan from Man United.
Oh, great goal, Marcus. Great
goal. Vintage Sancho.
Yeah, that was the vintage style. Sancho started 1-against-1, never stopped, just up his speed, then one trick, bang, bang, and you score. That was a fantastic goal for Sancho. Sancho was, after the game, kind of assessed that he doesn't want to go back to Manchester United. The last thing we've heard is that Dortmund is trying to find a model either to buy him, loan him for another season, or maybe there could be some kind of swapping deals. I'm putting out, Marcus, this is not based on any sources. It's just, I put it out there. If Ten Hag stays on at Manchester United, don't be surprised if there will be a swap deal between Sancho and Malen. Ten Hag knows Malen from his time in Holland, of course, and Malen had a good season. And Manchester United need a striker. Yes, the Manchester United fans will maybe wish for more, and I'm saying more in
striker slash winger. I guess you'd say like for like.
Yeah, striker slash winger, winger, attacker. I would say, but Manchester United will have an attacker, and he can also play in the middle. Remember, he when Erling was out, he came in and played sort of that role, so he can still do that. So don't be surprised. Sancho to Dortmund and Malen to Manchester United. You heard it here on the German Football Podcast first.
It might be the first or the last time you hear of it. That's the beauty of it. But I mean, Dortmund won there 2-1. Füllkrug was back to Werder Bremen, of course, there where he did so well. And then we have to actually probably the best game of the whole round was the Rhine derby of Gladbach against Köln. 3-3 it ended. We had Faridi Aludou, he scored 2 goals. We had Robin Hack score 2 goals, then Honorat, and then Damon Downs, a half German, half American. He equalized for Köln, a proper derby atmosphere. Köln seemed more improved. I think manager said it was their best attacking display, and you then have Köln on the 16th on the relegation playoff spot at 18 points, Mainz at 16, and Darmstadt at 13. Who look very much like they're going down. And then Bochum there on 25 points. Also worth mentioning that Augsburg made it 3 Bundesliga wins in a row. That makes them top half of the table after they beat Heidenheim. Wow. Yes, Torup, the Dane, doing very impressive things there. And unless I've forgotten any other things, I think, yes, and then Freiburg beat Bochum away. So they're kind of holding on there. The Hoffenheim, Freiburg, Augsburg, Werder Bremen even may be latching on to a slight dip in form for them, hopefully, of Eintracht Frankfurt to get into Europe. And then worth mentioning, I think also that Josuha, it's a hard name to pronounce, Guilavogui, he got saved.
Story,
basically his life got saved because the referee, a full-time policeman actually, Patrick Ittrich, he had to take out his tongue out of his throat. I know it sounds very poorly formulated, but it basically prevents you from breathing after his collision with Kashi, his teammate, which was, I think, a story worth mentioning. But we're obviously running out of time, but any other things worth mentioning? We obviously have the German teams in Europe as well coming up, Dan.
Well, yes, we do a PSV, of course, against Dortmund, or Dortmund against PSV. We'll follow that, and maybe we'll put that into our special episode when Nagelsmann picks his squad. I just want to say, if you see the German geography, there are some derbies going around in that area with Gladbach, Leverkusen, and everything. And talking about geography, in the Zweite Liga. Baumgart came there as a prisoner, and it seems that he will be locked in soon because he can't win. And they lost against Düsseldorf, and Düsseldorf is now in the 4th position, getting closer to that 3rd position. And the reason I said the geography was that Kiel are ahead of them, and St. Pauli seems to be flying back. But at the moment, it could be Hamburger Sportsverein against Köln, could be the playoff game. And if we have time, Marcus, I will just say that the way Füllkrug was welcomed back to Werder Bremen, I love that. When they do that, sometimes I think it's a bit over dramatic when they're going to boo people who have been there for ages. And he came back, and there was all kind of celebrations for him. And then they ended up winning as well. And maybe that was not that popular. The Werder Bremen been a bit worse lately, or couldn't win that game that people thought they would have a chance, of course. But I find that good. I find it good that nice that can also nice touch. And German football need, after all these fighting with hooligans, all about these actions on and off the field, they need now a bit love. And it seems that Leverkusen and Bayern will have although 10 points ahead, but we know Bayern, and we know all the teams that has been getting gel in their knees when they're competing with Bayern. So we'll see. But still a great round, 8-1, and Leverkusen producing a game.
Yeah, 9 rounds to go. Let's see. There's plenty of narrative there to discuss. And then, like we said, we have Nagelsmann picking his squad, I believe, on the 14th of March, which will be interesting to test themselves against the likes of the Netherlands and France. Not much time left for Nagelsmann to get that squad right on home soil at the Euros. I'm sure we all would love to see a full strength and inform Germany team. But for now, Dad, thanks a lot. As always, we'll reconvene at the end of the week to discuss that and more. And yeah, auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen, Markus.